Hey everyone, welcome to the Teller Core Call. Date is St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 2020. So this is
Otherwise known as Teller Day from now on.
Teller Day. This is actually the year anniversary of Teller. So a
Yep.
year ago today, we found out that we got into Finance Labs. They were interested in the Oracle project. So
So you
we
shipped me to Berlin.
Yeah, so we incorporated Teller really fast. We sent Brent. They told us, okay, you guys gotta um, come to Berlin for our incubator, and it starts in 2 weeks. So Brenda volunteered to be the first person to go on April 1st, and we sent her out there, and then Mike and I shortly followed. And yeah, it's been a wild ride ever since.
Yep.
So that's what we're celebrating today. I'm sure you guys have seen kind of the Telegram channel and everybody posting about happy birthday, Teller, but that's the reason. The other birthday is obviously August 1st, the day we won mainnet, and we'll have a different celebration for that one. But yeah, kind of, big news over the week. I don't think we have to say what the big news of the week has been, so since kind of this time last week, crypto has experienced its largest drop ever. Everything's really far down. The whole world is in chaos. But that said, Teller's still chugging along. So, with a lot of people are concerned about like the price action of different cryptocurrencies. And to be honest, we're like price wise where we were at like a month ago. We weren't concerned about the future of Teller a month ago, and luckily we had the run up, and anything we lost, it just sort of reverted us back, from our sort of put us back in perspective about how fast some of these things can change and how best to kind of put risk management in place. I think we feel that we're actually in a really good spot moving forward. Whenever you look at just some of the things that have sort of played out over the last week, some of which we'll get into in the questions, a lot of DeFi protocols broke. People are realizing kind of the benefit of having a slower, more secure system, something that actually really leans on censorship resistance and in their values. And that's what Teller is. So, we're just going to continue to move forward. We're not going to have any problem kind of carrying on. We're going to just focus on what our core values are, and that is building something that's censorship resistant, building and providing pricing data for these dApps. And I think we stand to be in a really good position moving forward. After just seeing what's happened, I think a lot of protocols are going to really rethink some of their designs, and we hopefully are here to catch them. So
yeah, for every tragedy, there's an opportunity to grow from it, and we're really hoping that the whole space will grow towards, I don't want to say slower necessarily, but more secure, more viable design for their protocols, and something that we've been sort of preaching for a while, sometimes on deaf ears. But in these times is usually the time where people can reflect and sort of realize where they can make things better. And so there's a good thing that can come out of this too. So let's just all stay patient for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so some of the other news, so besides just, kind of being encouraging, I think the big news, so the mining pool had a whole lot of trouble. The founder of the mining pool had trouble just over the past week. And if you notice, tellor.fund, that was our mining pool last week, is now down. So I know most of you, if you head over to the Discord, there's kind of an active chat on that. But several other pools have popped up. So the most notable one is Hash Pool. Another one, other people have started their own pools that are, not quite named yet. But there's a lot of different stuff floating around the Discord. Feel free to go poke around if you're interested in mining, if you want to kind of get involved. But like always, just ask before you jump on a miner. Mining is kind of by nature centralized, so be careful out there. Make sure you're using a good mining pool if you are, because they handle your hash power, they distribute the rewards. So, if some guy posts on Discord, come join my pool, just be careful. So that's about it. The other big news that we released yesterday was tellor.fund. So tellor.fund, we announced to you guys, I think 2 weeks ago. It was an initiative that we built during the ETH Denver weekend. And the whole point is to allow you guys to fund initiatives that are sort of beneficial to the community, but that we may not want to sort of fund from Tellor. So some examples of this could be, say you wanted to do a YouTube video with a certain person. You could put that up there, and we could see whether or not the community would want to group fund to that, or an AMA with a certain group if it was paid, or a report. These are things that, you know, we don't want to pay from the Tellor fund for these things, but maybe the whole community thinks it's a good idea. Another example would be an exchange listing. An exchange charges 10 grand to list. I think you guys know our policy. We don't really pay for exchange listings, but if you guys find it important and you really want that exchange, maybe you guys can put the money together and kind of start convincing the community to fund these things. And that's what this website was created for. So I'm going to walk you through kind of how to do it. So I will share my screen. Okay, if you cannot see tellor.fund right now, let me know. So right now we actually only have one thing up at the moment, and this is to join the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. It costs $3,000 for a yearly membership, and right now it is 0% funded. So there are 19 days left in it. If you think this is a good idea, which you would come and do, the proposal ID, you can see here, is 1. So we'll enter 1. And how much TRB do we want to contribute to it? So we'll contribute 3. We'll get a percent. Would we get a percent? No. But we'll hit fund. And then this is kind of the tricky part that you have to pay attention to. Because what you'll do is you'll click fund, and the first thing it has to do is approve tellor.fund to spend your TRB. So you're going to click, we'll edit the gas fees and go fast. And we'll confirm it. And then you got to wait for it to confirm. And then once it confirms, then you have to click confirm on another transaction like this. So confirmed. Now we're going to click confirm again. Confirm again. So that's all you have to do. And then it'll send. And then whenever that transaction goes through, it'll update. If you want to join the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance and you think this is a worthwhile cause, feel free to go contribute. The other thing, if you have other things that you want us to do, let us know. We'll put it up here. So right now it's sort of centralized as far as what goes up here, meaning you kind of have to go through us. Basically, that's just to kind of reduce spam, but we'll basically let everything else up. So there you go. You see it updated. Down here, it says I funded 1, and then I funded 3 to this. So right now there's 4 TRB in here. You can continue to contribute. Other things, and the cool thing about this, so if we don't meet this goal, what you'll see, so after the 19 days, if we don't meet this goal, these will come back to me. So I'll be able to come here and I'll see 4 TRB here. Yeah, or to you, whoever funds it. You'll be able to withdraw it back.
Goes back to the Fed.
So, you know, it's sort of risk-free. So, meaning if we don't meet the goal, you get it right back. There's no fee or anything like that. So that is tellor.fund. If you have a proposal that you want to do, feel free to reach out, and we'll get it up there.
And I think, you know, for certain proposals, I mean, we will, if the community is showing, you know, a lot of, I guess, excitement and everybody's contributing to something, I mean, we will consider obviously matching part of that or contributing ourselves to it. We just, you know, this is the majority of this is meant to be for community funding, but we're also part of our own community as well. And there's a potential that we'll contribute.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's it for the announcements. You know, as you guys know, we were supposed to do the tech call this week, so I was going to give you guys a walkthrough on the alternate chain structure. But it being our birthday, and it also, also just the whole market's going crazy. We have a lot of good questions. We thought it would be good to kind of
Keep it casual.
keep
today.
it more casual.
Yeah. So the tech call will be next Tuesday. It's normally
Sure.
the third.
So there'll be
Tuesday.
no AMA next week. We're just going to be doing more of a deep dive. So
Yeah.
anyway,
All right.
so on to the questions.
On to the questions. So we got 23 questions today. The first one is, do you like auctions as a means of distributing tokens? Do they help the token find a fair price?
I can give it a stab. Sort of. Auctions are really good if they're transparent and well advertised. I think this may be in reference to some of the maker things that happened over the past week. So whenever the maker vaults would become under collateralized, they would auction off the underlying collateral. And what happened is that the winning bids were all 0 bids. So they bid 0 DAI to buy up all this ETH, and the person ended up walking away with millions of dollars worth of ETH for 0 DAI. And that's because if you sort of force auctions really fast, there's not a whole lot of liquidity. An auction's only as good as liquidity. So using auctions for selling your tokens initially, that can kind of be a good idea. But finding a fair price, especially, or using an auction as an underlying price feed is actually a really bad idea. That's sort of the same idea of using a last traded price, whether, even on an order book, using the last traded price, it's sort of, you're able to manipulate that. In the same way you're able to manipulate an auction. You can just bid a higher price. Markets are not insanely efficient at the moment. So it's not a good idea to use either the last traded price or the auction price for kind of any underlying price. If I'm reading more into that question than probably asked. Person probably just want to know about auctions.
All right. So what does an Oracle customer want to see in an Oracle? So what do you think makes an Oracle solution attractive from a customer's point of view? Well, so it really depends. I mean, I think for some of the for protocols that shall remain nameless, they might want an Oracle that can fit into their current design, and that can be the problem. Like if you design everything and the Oracle is sort of an afterthought, you might just want the fastest solution possible, and so the only Oracle you want is one that can fit into your current design, and that's the crux of the problem. It's a different question to ask. What do you think a customer should want in an Oracle? Which is what we want to answer.
Well, I think, we also, so we ran Daxia, which was a derivatives protocol before we were Tellor. And so we were actually customers of Oracles. We had shopped around to the different various Oracles, and there's a few different things that that you want. So the first thing is that you want it to sort of be secure, and you want it to be like obviously secure and reliable. Those like go without saying, but there's usually it's just like a general bar you have to hit before you test it out. And then whenever you're testing it out, you want it to be sort of easy to use. You want to be able to spin it up at a hackathon and be able to look at it and be like, hey, this works. You want the team to be sort of responsive to how it works, and you also want to be able to understand it, because there's always these problems with Oracles. There's catches in every single one. Like what happens if the network gets clogged? What happens if one of your servers gets shut down or something like that? Like who can shut it down? And knowing, having the simple explanations about how it works. Can I run it if you guys go out of business? What is happening? Those are some of the things that you really want, and those are, since we were building this originally for our own use case, we sort of understood what an Oracle customer would want to see in some of these things. So yeah, I think those are some of the biggest pieces about what they want. And I think there's a big difference between, like right now, a lot of people want us to say partner with one of the big projects that's already out there. There's a big difference between sort of being the Oracle that current projects switch to versus being the Oracle that newer projects start using. It's kind of like Mike was saying, if you can build your product, which projects are starting to do, with an Oracle as like the first thought
in mind,
you can build around it. But the problem with a lot of the current projects and getting some of those is that they've built with these false assumptions about what Oracles can do, and now they have to change kind of other pieces of their protocol before they can fit in a decentralized Oracle, and that's a problem. So, and it takes a little bit more time for them to upgrade to that.
Yeah. Does ETH's price exert a gravity on TRB?
Yes.
I mean, I think certainly. I think it's all correlated. Everything.
Yeah, I mean, we
BTC.
have all ETH pairs.
Yeah.
You know, so everything goes. If ETH goes down by 40%, we're likely going to go down by 40% as well. Just is the way it is.
Yep. For now, what do you think of what Maker is going through? I mean, it's pretty wild.
Sure.
I would say it's. We sort of like today. We were just saying like it's crazy. You know, we just sort of feel like everybody else. Like it's pretty crazy to see the market cap of Maker be so low, and just watch this company that's been one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in DeFi. You know, scramble to fix something that's broken. So it's been interesting as well. Now, I mean, you could probably speak more on exactly the design aspects of what's going wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think the design, so what's happening with Maker, in my opinion, like, so the basic thing was that they had, you know, the whole network sort of froze up and they auctioned off their collateral. The system actually worked as expected. You know, Maker is actually a really well-designed protocol. You know, they have like hour-long delays to their Oracle updates, and they have, you know, several things in place, but you realize kind of the points of centralization in these times of stress. So, you know, there were some rumors that happened. The problem with their Oracle is that, so they have a group of people who could update the prices, but then when do they push the prices on chain? And since it's kind of Maker and their friends who get to push the prices on chain, they know that if they push this really bad price on chain, it's going to cause a whole bunch of liquidations. So they're actually disincentivized from pushing a price on chain. You know, so it's like this liveness guarantee problem that I think they're still working to figure out. Because, you know, like with Tellor, you don't have that problem because like miners, they could care less who's reading the data. They want that reward, and they're competing to get that reward. Yeah. So they're going to put it on chain. So building things that cause people to push it forward without that underlying conflict of interest, and kind of having it open to everyone. That's what's important, and that's what Tellor does. Another thing they had, we had mentioned it before, you know, they auctioned off their collateral and there weren't that many people bidding on the collateral. It's always a problem whenever you assume that there's going to be these perfect markets. You assume that everyone's going to be bidding on it. And it's really tough because markets don't always work like that, especially in stressful situations. And you had a failure here. So, and then, you know, I think their response moving forward. So you saw kind of the big announcement that's causing a whole lot of debate is the use of USDC for now on as collateral. And, you know, I'm not a huge fan of that. It's just, you know, using a centralized stablecoin, and a decentralized stablecoin doesn't make any sense. Because the big problem is that if you have ETH as your main collateral, then ETH is sort of perfectly correlated with the price of ETH, which is, yeah. Well, so what? Yeah, so like what you would want to do is back your stable coin with like short ETH US dollar derivatives. So like something that's perfectly inverse. So like that's like actually how you would do it in the real world. You have ETF. So say like you have an S&P 500 inverse. The way that they do it is that they have just so like short S&P 500 futures, and then they just roll them. So it's just, you know, a contract that continuously rolls them forward. You just hold it, and you don't notice all this stuff going on in the background. And that's what I think something will move to in the future. But now they have this problem where they have to have crazy over collateralization, and it's still not enough to make up for the fact that, you know, the price correlations are so crazy. So anyway, we'll have to write a detailed response on that at some point, but yes. Yeah.
Will this crash cause the death of many projects, and will much of the value locked in these shitcoins ultimately flow into Ethereum and its ecosystem? I mean, I guess you would, I think I guess we hope that these shitcoins die off. I mean, the whole any good project, the ecosystem, you want to thin the herd.
I think you just want good projects to stay.
Exactly.
And in terms of whether or not that will flow into other projects, when regular stock goes to nothing, it's no money, it's zero money. So where it's gonna go, I don't know. But at a very minimum, I would like to see the space grow from projects that are good, that are still developing, and that are still delivering. Aside from that, I hope everybody, that is really contributing to the space continues to grow and continues to be able to stay in the space during this time.
But I think there's a big misconception about how much money is actually in all these shitcoins. So there's a bunch of coins even in the top 100 that have no development going on. The team owns 80% of the coin. They're not really developing. They're not managing the communities. Their shitcoin holds some value, but there's all just a bunch of fake liquidity. It's not like, $50 million worth of value is going to flow out of that coin and into the next coin. It's probably more like maybe there's 1/100th of that worth of ETH actually in the project.
I just think when they leave, it'll add clarity to the space. There'll be a lot less coins for people to research, and I don't know. I just think it'd be a lot less confusion.
There's just there's like 500 coins. 400 which have no real team and no development going on, and I think that's
what did we say today? There's so much noise in the space, and actually the space is really small at its core.
Yep.
And that's the case. So what do you think of stable coins which use a basket of other stable coins as collateral?
I actually don't like them. Because let's if you have Tether and USDC and DAI and everything like that, like let's say it's 1/5 of each stable coin. Like if one stable coin goes under, like now your coin is worth 80 cents on the dollar. So the whole thing broke. So like just pick the best one.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole bunch of difference. So
I agree.
That's
What's our ACS timeline, guys?
I just started testing today. We're working with several other chains. I think the biggest thing would be we'll probably push once we find a user on the other chains. So we've been talking with some people on Matic. We've been talking with some other protocols about where we want to go first. Because what you guys have to realize is that when we launch something on the alternate chain, it's not like we just launch it and forget about it. Hey, you guys go have fun. This is a lot of work on our part. We want to support these chains. We want to make sure that, hey, we give you a teller scan. We give you some tools. We give you some developer support. We make sure that we're over there. We put some data reporters over there. It's a lot of work on our end. So, we don't want to just go, we're going to go support every chain under the sun. We don't, there's 3 of us. We can't do that. We want to go over to one of these chains once we feel that there's actual demand over there. If, we're not going to go support, some tiny little chain just to have another partnership announcement that says we're going to support.
Give me an example. So what would happen if we implemented the ACS on a chain with no user and there was no demand? What would happen to those staking nodes?
Nothing. They would get no rewards, and they would
eventually leave.
And they would probably leave, or they would unstake.
So what we want to do is be able to provide support and be there, be actually used, rather than just launch smart contracts and call it a partnership.
Yep.
So.
Exactly. Will crypto decorrelate from stocks?
What's your opinion, Brenda? I'm actually curious. Brenda's our stock picker here.
I mean, they're
you're
both,
giving stock
they're
advice?
both irrational consumers. I am not giving any type of advice. Do whatever you want with your money. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it at that now.
I would say no, not for the time being.
Yeah.
I think so. If you look at who's getting into crypto and stuff, it seems to be like crypto isn't a safe haven asset. We're not like used really yet. Like I'd say Ethereum, maybe a little bit is used, but the vast majority of the value in most of these coins is these are speculative assets. So speculative assets, they're a portion of people's portfolios, especially rich people's portfolios, a very small part. Whenever a crisis like, you know, the coronavirus hits, what's the first thing you dump? You dump all your speculative assets. You don't have time for that. You put them into safe haven assets, and that's why, you know, you're gonna, whenever it's acting just like a very speculative asset, and that it just basically gets fire sold because you don't care about it. You know, it was a home run shot anyway. And that's currently where we're at. If you were acting as a safe haven asset, you know, say like, you know, telecommunication stocks or something like that, even those are going down, but you would have, like, if it was a very strong asset, you would see more money being flowing into it, and we're not quite there yet. So
Yeah. Okay. So Brenda and Nick, how and when did you learn to code?
what was yours?
Well, it depends what we were learning to code. For me, I did a little bit in my undergrad, and then I went into database administration in 2005. And then
Yeah,
I
were
started
you
doing SAS.
were you SAS or
in
you were
2000.
SQL first, right?
SQL first, yeah.
Yeah.
Like database administration, specifically SQL, and then
And then
SAS.
yeah, and then we
which
learned
is-
SAS kind of at the same time.
Right.
And then yeah, so
R,
SAS
and you
is,
did Python.
and then I started doing Python. This was when we both worked for the government. So we did a lot of database stuff, and then I got into, probably my first like fun coding was actually writing Python libraries to market make crypto.
You mean SAS wasn't fun?
Yeah, I mean SAS was good, but it wasn't like useful in the real world. No offense, SAS. It was like, so yeah, that was just, I started probably like 2013, 2014, started doing market making in crypto, and that was whenever it was all like Python based, and then you got more performance based, and then I got into 2015 was like whenever I switched over to Solidity, which was, you know, this one. So
Yeah, brute force, by the way.
yeah, no, definitely not schooling.
So, yeah,
YouTube videos.
it's like, just learn it.
So this could be a big one to open. What's your ultimate vision for what Tellor could be? I know where your mind is going, but
Yeah.
shouldn't unveil that right away.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the short term, so in the next year, let me just curb this question into something more palatable.
Yeah.
In the next year, what's the vision for what Tellor could be?
I think for me, because, you know, like whenever you talk about the ultimate vision, it really does depend. You know, we're built on Ethereum, we're built on all these other crypto networks. Yeah, I mean, like, if this is the final stage of Ethereum, it really limits the final stage of Tellor, in a lot of ways. You know, if this is just all like, what is crypto going to be used for? That it's more of a question on that, because Tellor wants to enable that. You know, to me, it's, if you look at, okay, what are the needs for the next year? There's a big lack in secure, reliable, and completely decentralized price feeds. So it's, you know, it's a basic use case. You know, like we've talked before, like, oh, we want to just bring over arbitrary bytes, and, you know, some people are talking, we can do cloud computing, we can do bridging of chains, and it's like nobody's even there yet. Like, very few projects are doing that. We're missing the basic, like, how do we get the price of Bitcoin on chain, you know, every hour in a decentralized way? You know, if we can solve that piece, that's the goal over the next year. And if we can actually just bring it to the space and get them to use us, that's my goal for the next year. And really just doubling down and focusing on that, and then seeing, you know, as it grows, you know, oracles in general, they encompass so much. They really can just morph into, whether you're pushing data on chain, pulling data off chain, bridging chains, being on multiple chains and connecting them. You can really do a whole lot with them, but the
being the
space in,
source of data itself
yeah,
as well.
the space in general needs to grow before they even need that. So we'll just kind of see.
We have plenty of vision and pie in the sky stuff, but we also want to remain nimble and not sort of locked in on something where, you know, oh, we have this dream. We want to watch what the space is doing and sort of be able to be malleable to that.
I mean, we hope the space continues within our line of the dream, but we're also realistic in realizing what is possible with the current technology. So we're just gonna do the best with what we have and try to move in the direction that we've always wanted to be in, which is secure and decentralized.
Is Compound going to corner the market on DAI and kill Maker?
I don't quite get the question.
Yeah, I don't get the question. I was just, when I read this, I had this Lego.
Maybe.
You see, Compound is built on top of DAI, so I don't know how.
Well, I think maybe what they would say is like, so we'll go way into the question here. So one of the big things is that, so whenever somebody creates a CDP, you lock up a whole bunch of ETH and they get a whole bunch of DAI. And what they're supposed to do is, you know, they use the DAI, and whoever has the DAI is supposed to use it to like participate in these auctions when all shit goes crazy. But what's happening is these people are creating DAI and then they're loaning it on Compound. So then, you know, the Compound users are borrowing it. And then none of the Compound users participate in the auctions. So then there was actually like a DAI short squeeze. You know, DAI was really in short supply because the CDP holders.
I think that's what he means about corner the market on DAI.
Yeah, so you could do
tying up the DAI.
So you like tie up the DAI in these Compound things, and maybe yeah. I mean, it's like the old like Hunt Brothers cornering the silver market. You can that's like sort of illegal in futures contracts where you.
It's over the head of everybody on this call,
you buy up,
including me.
You buy up a whole. So there's a good documentary on Hunt Brothers and the silver market. So they bought up a whole bunch of the physical silver, so that way they could manipulate and make a whole bunch of money on the physically delivered silver, and it was, yeah, fun times.
Yes. Well, history repeats itself.
Yeah,
that's the old adage.
It was yeah, and it's been a while since I've done that. So,
does crypto need circuit breakers?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
We called them. We were talking about pause buttons.
Yeah,
that's like a circuit breaker.
No, so I mean that's like everyone loves crypto to be up 24/7, but you would, just pause it, guys. Like, you know, like that's what Maker, you know, they had like some Oracle delays. Like, just pause it for a while and come back in a few hours whenever the Oracles can update, and, you know, let your auctions take a little bit longer. You know, like build products that can handle not being open 24/7. Because that's like one of those things that in the market, like, I would say it's a good thing. Like you can hit pause on it because like everyone loses their minds and things move so fast. Like, it's okay if you just hit pause and come back to it. Things aren't gonna die too much. So, and that's what I think. As long as of course it's like in the code. Like, you don't want to have like so where one person can come in and push the pause button so they can take advantage of it. That's not right. But like, hey, the price moves by 20%. It's gonna pause for an hour. That's cool, and I think a lot of systems should start taking advantage of it, just because those are good things in the financial market, and they prevent kind of bank runs. They let people, you know, like a lot of people can sort of get behind supporting the whole system, and you have time to talk about it. You aren't rushed into just feeding.
In the short term, it might feel like an opportunity, but in the long term, it's probably more of a negative impact to the whole system. So.
Are we a fan of Bitcoin on Ethereum ideas like TBTC?
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
Well, I'm talking about not possible.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I jumped into the
Brenda's going back in questions.
No, it's okay.
Bitcoin and Ethereum's cool. Should be the future.
Yeah.
So
So if there was Bitcoin collateral in Maker, would that have changed Black Thursday, the CDP liquidation? I don't know, but Bitcoin went down too.
yeah, it's all just so correlated.
Yeah.
That's the issue. No, it wouldn't have.
Are rep-based systems inherently centralizing?
I mean,
Yeah, I would say yeah.
Is that when they choose delegates?
Well, they're trying to make a centralizing,
reputation.
yeah,
So
reputation.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, you could even go one step farther and say all market-based mechanisms are centralizing. I mean, you could go full hippie on it. This is,
True.
it's like anytime you have competitions, like even like mining,
yeah.
is mining centralized, centralizing, like sort of, if you look at the data. Staking's probably going to go the same way. You're going to have whoever has the cheapest access to capital going to get the staking rewards. A lot of things are centralizing.
Capitalism.
No, it is, and that's what you see. Like a lot of these systems are like hyper capitalism.
Yeah.
Like anonymous capitalism on steroids. So like,
crypto.
It's going to be very, very centralizing, very, very fast. And I think, the only way you sort of fight that is like having principles. If people are mining or holding your coin, not because it's like the way that they make the most money with them, but it's like they actually believe in what you're building. That's where you can kind of see a difference. So we just talked about this a whole bunch. So
has Tellor gotten any fresh grants?
Guys,
we don't know. Well, after the last couple of days, we don't know if
the grant space is dead.
Those fresh grants went sour real fast.
Yeah, no, we're not expecting any grants anytime. After a 60% decline, you might have to wait a few months.
We have applications outstanding, so we'll see. Come in. We'll be waiting a while.
Yeah, no, people are going to worry about paying their employees. And we get it. So,
what is Tellor's total addressable market? Total addressable market. Does that mean our the size of our target market?
Yeah, I mean, these are all like BS questions. Like just like this is the thing that you put in the pitch deck. Like could potentially be a
size of DeFi.
Yeah, $600 trillion market size of the derivatives market. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like
it's actually small. We talked about how small the community is of good projects building good projects.
Yeah, it's about finding the good projects that need good oracles that want to launch, and that is very small, and it requires a lot of finding and handholding. So yeah, that's our target market.
Has your rate of inbound interest from other projects since Denver stayed strong or reduced?
That's like a month ago. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this last few weeks have all been follow-ups based off of that. So
it's been
very
good.
steady. Are you worried about DeFi given what's happened recently?
No, I think we'll build better projects. So
yeah. It's like
lessons learned.
Yeah, you're frustrated about the short-term market, but I think we're all bullish on the long-term resolution that will come out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's even like, so DeFi is going to have hacks probably every few years. It's just going to happen. The whole thing's going to break. But I mean, it's just like, look at crypto, like Mt. Gox happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was that the end of centralized exchanges or no? Centralized exchanges came back really strong. Everyone still loves centralized exchanges. People get hacked and people are dumb. So if there's a return to chase, people will do it. I think if we can just make it better, like similar to centralized exchanges have slowly gotten better. No longer is it like Mt. Gox where you have to like go to Japan and go through shady websites. It's more legitimate now, and I think you'll see the same happen with DeFi.
It's all part of the process. Should crypto merge with law?
What? I mean, censorship resistance and merging with law. It depends. I don't know.
Like,
well, I mean, it could be back to like
comment.
the code is law.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Okay.
Maybe they're talking about, because I think in a lot of ways what we're building, it's, it does come down to like, what is your legal definition of things, and how you, how do you enforce some of these things? Because that's what, like whether or not, like if somebody cheats you on a DeFi protocol, we usually assume that there is no legal entity. Sort of the code is the legal entity that's overriding it. So it's sort of a different kind of law in some of those ways. Whereas, the traditional law would say you go to a court. If you refuse to go to court, they're going to come after you with guns. And, crypto sort of puts that all on its head and says, no, like we're going to move to a system, say, even of arbitration amongst the code, or it's more of a judgment based upon what the network of the nodes think, and whether or not we want to fork and punish that person. So it's like a different kind of law. So I don't know what you mean by merge with law, but
I mean, well, now that you say all that, they share a couple of features which is like, it's difficult to change laws or write new laws. There's a lot of process you have to go through. And that's the way crypto code is. If you want to update or upgrade code in crypto, it's meant to be hard, very, very hard or impossible to do so. And so, I mean, I guess they could share that value, but
I mean, there's some things that we definitely want to learn from traditional systems, and then there's other things that we want to move away from. Like, we don't really need a three-way.
Right.
Yeah. Crypto for everything.
Yeah.
Is TRB's illiquidity helping its price right now as crypto takes a beating?
Illiquidity would hurt your price. It would just, illiquidity makes it more volatile. So
yeah,
if prices go down, you would assume it would go down more. So,
which is more painful from a product market fit point of view, being too early or too late? And in the worst case, which is Tellor more at risk of being? I would say being too late has to be harder than being too early. If you are lean, which we are, and smart, you can survive being too early. But if you're too late, it's like you have to hope that somebody else fails and you pounce on opportunity.
They're just different market kind of strategies. If you're too late, people usually
have to really innovate.
Well, no, it's about innovating, but also it's about like out competing. So like, in a way,
Sure.
So like if you're late and there's already like a market for this thing, you have to have much better marketing. You don't have to necessarily explain the concept to people. Like if you're too early, it's more about explaining the concept to people and getting those early users on board, which actually feels like kind of we are. But whereas if you're too late, everybody sort of knows the concept, they know what you're trying to build, but they're all using somebody else already, and you have to sort of really differentiate yourself.
You sort of have both problems, because you have Chainlink that got popular before us, but it's still way too early for oracles, as we've learned that this whole industry is maturing about oracles.
For decentralized oracles, it's early.
You're still competing with
the notion of Chainlink.
The notion of Chainlink, which is a big notion. How much runway does Tellor have at the moment based on current expenses and current market conditions?
Enough. Yeah, no, I mean
we're okay.
We're staying here for the long run, guys.
As much runway as we ever have.
We've run on razor thin margins for
the whole time,
for years. Yes,
we're doing fine. So last question. So Tellor has just turned 1. Congrats. And are you happy with the progress that was made over its first year? Hell yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, we did. We went through a bunch of photos on our phones and in our Telegram groups that we had from Daxia and DDA before that. And we sort of just reminisced about everything over the last, even longer than a year. But yeah, I think
good.
Yeah, I think over the past year, things that we've definitely learned a lot. This was kind of our first foray into the whole launching a token. So we've learned a whole lot about kind of some of these networks. We've learned a lot about, we've talked to literally every single project in the space that we think
Yeah.
about. We talked to it's almost all of the VCs, just like what they're looking for, some of their struggles, where value is actually added. That's kind of like we were saying, we were sort of shocked with a lot of things in the way that they played out, but then at the same time, we learned a lot. You realize just the space is really small still. You can get to know everyone, and you can get to do everything. And I think we have, and we're really happy the fact that we have a great product that we're proud of. And, we never thought we'd have kind of as big and as active of community as we do now. So thanks to all you guys.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
And we got 2 questions in the Zoom. What's the advantage over Link? So I think we've written a lot on this, but I think the general thing is that we try and aim to be a more decentralized version. We try and, right now Link has whitelisted nodes, whereas we have kind of an open system for miners. That's like the really quick, without getting too much into the details, answer. And then any new exchanges in the near future? Not really, but I think if you guys saw, was that over this past week, IDEX listed us for US customers, which was super big. So if you guys are a US customer and you want to go trade on IDEX, which is which was a big thing, because they're like the first people that were like, we have a US side, and now you're legally approved to trade on the US side. So that was cool. So anything else?
Are you glad you studied economics?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
So thanks for everyone
Yeah.
joining. We'll talk to you guys next week, and hang in there.
Yep.
See you.
Thanks.